Welcome back to the Fantasy Heat Seekers podcast. I'm your host, Rick Butts, here with the legendary Brad Menendez. And tonight we are going to be talking about some of the first half studs and duds. And I say first half, I want to make this clear because I understand most people do 13 weeks. But RotoHeat leagues, because we do the 96 team leagues, we do 12 weeks in some of them, so those are half over. So we're just going to do the half this week. But we are going to talk about some first half studs and duds. We are going to talk about some second half values. We've got guys that are due for regression, both positively and negatively. So we're gonna get into some of that. But first, Brad, you have some news.
We
Some of it I
do.
like, some of it I don't.
Yeah, we got lots of stuff going on in the world. So the first thing we just came across here this evening, maybe in the last 15 minutes, is that the Oakland Raiders have extended tight end Darren Waller through 2023. The details of the contract are not yet known, but that's a big move for Oakland. You know, that man, the fantasy world, that they're all in on the Darren Waller train. How do you feel about Waller to Oakland to continue to stay in Oakland?
Well, this is kind of funny because this is one of the guys that I'm gonna talk about later. So I won't get too deep into it now, but I mean, I think he's going to be a good tight end, so I think that that's good for them. But I mean, we're looking at a guy that has literally had zero competition for targets. We know Tyrell Williams isn't a guy that's going to get, 10 targets a game. He's a downfield threat. Once Antonio Brown left, I was predicting Antonio Brown to have 180 plus targets in this offense. And if we see what Waller's doing, like, I don't think that was out of line at all. So with those targets opening up and Waller getting that volume, it's really, he's really athletic. He's a mismatch for linebackers and safeties. So he's gonna be a good tight end. I just think that right now, fantasy wise, people are overvaluing him.
Oh, clearly. Well, and especially with the way that the tight end position is played throughout the first, half of the fantasy season. I mean, Waller may be one of the top ones, but there's also been quite a few injuries. I mean, guys like Hunter Henry and things like that. So, interesting move. Next up, one that I know that you'll be excited about: the Miami Dolphins are looking to extend Kenyon Drake. We don't obviously it doesn't say whether or not Kenyon Drake's interested in staying in Miami, but the Dolphins want to keep him around for the future. What say you about all that?
It makes zero sense to me because they wanted to force Jay Ajayi, they wanted to force Damian Williams, they wanted to force Kalen Balaj, and then last week they tried forcing Mark Walton. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like no matter what, they don't just give Kenyon Drake a shot, and then it comes out that they're trying to extend him. Like, please don't do it. Like, I want to see him in an offense where they utilize him correctly, where the team's not freaking horrific. Because this is a guy on a little over 10 touches last year, was running back 14 on 10 touches per game. Running back 14.
That's huge. That's huge.
And we don't want him to stay in Miami. We want him out of Miami. We want him to be used correctly and get some of that fantasy value back.
Yeah, if it's hard to tell exactly the direction Flores is going with this team. If he's trying to build it in a Patriot type mentality, and you think about how they handle their running backs, um, you know, I think he could fit the mold of a James White type back that gets a ton of PPR love, but it's just too little, too late. I mean, for me, I would want him to leave as well. Find a team that would better utilize him, but
He doesn't
we'll see what happens.
see. That's the thing is like this dude's averaged over 5 yards per carry. He hasn't. I'm not saying that he's gonna be a guy that can get 12 or 20 carries a game, but he could be a guy that could get 12 carries a game and then 4 or 5 catches. I mean Austin Eckler's doing it.
Yep.
Austin Eckler's doing it, and I think that Kenyon Drake's a better talent. But he's in a worse offense for sure. But it's just frustrating because we see it every year. When he gets touches, he actually does stuff. Last week it was like there was nothing, nothing, nothing. He still ended up with 13 points because Mark Walton got a little banged up, and they finally went back to Drake. And it's just like, why are you trying to force Kalen Balaj? Why are you trying to force Mark Walton and these other guys when you have a talented guy that you need to give more touches? And if he can't hold up, then he can't hold up. But you haven't found out yet if he can or not.
Yeah, it makes me wonder if it's a personality conflict because it just seems super weird. Like he's by far their most talented back. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. Uh, Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that's hard to believe just because they're trying to extend him.
Well, yeah,
Like
right.
if he
Well, there's got to be something that's
and
causing
it's
them to
been
not,
two different coaches, so it's like if it was a personality conflict, you would think that well they would not be interested in
keeping them.
keeping him around for a while.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. The Raiders make an odd move. They work out a couple of running backs in LeGarrette Blount and Bo Scarborough. It's unclear whether or not there's any injuries in Oakland, but this time of the week, the Tuesdays, Wednesdays, a lot of teams are working out guys to fill out their sheets and kind of keep an eye on players. But the Raiders working out running backs is a strange move to keep an eye on. Uh, Another move that could be coming is the Indianapolis Colts website reported that Devin Funchess is nearing returning to practice. They're anticipating week 8 that he would start resuming practice, which means he could be designated from return from IR, which could be huge for the Colts. Their receiving core is decent, but Funchess, you could tell even in the first game. I mean, he was targeted 5 times, caught 3 of them. You could tell that he was a part of that offense, and that was an important piece of that offense. So, adding that piece back would be great for them, and good for us fantasy owners that have Funchess shares. But how do you feel? Are you still on the Funchess train, even though he's been
Well,
hurt?
no other wide receiver other than T.Y. Hilton has really stepped up and been consistent in that Colts offense. So I definitely think that it's not like somebody took his job. I got that crazy fly. It comes around every episode, man. It drives me bonkers. But I just don't think that anybody has sealed up the wide receiver 2 spot. So he didn't lose it that way. So he's going to at least get a chance to come back and be productive in that offense. We know that Colts offense likes big targets between the tight ends and everything, and he's going to run probably out of the slot some and run a lot of slants and stuff. And, he's not going to be the guy that they're going to take shots on deep very often. That'll still be Campbell and Chester Rogers and whatnot, and T.Y. Hilton when he's healthy. But yeah, I mean it's great because I wanted to see him in this offense with Luck. We're obviously not going to see that, um, but yeah, I think it's a good thing because the Colts have been. We said it before. We didn't think that they were going to have a huge drop off because they actually have an offensive line for Brissett to play behind, unlike in 2017 when he was the quarterback. So, we called that at the beginning of the year. We haven't seen drastic drop offs in fantasy production from the guys that we liked. Uh, Obviously, the receivers have been a little shaky, but we weren't confident in anybody but T.Y. Hilton anyway. Um,
Right.
Especially after Funchess got hurt. So, T.Y. Hilton without Andrew Luck he's played 4 games and he was averaging 17.8 points per game, which puts him like 10th in the league. So that's, still pretty good numbers for him. And we thought that they would rely on Mac a little bit more. We were a little bit worried about touchdown regression, but their offense has been doing pretty good. I'm not sure where they rank in the scheme of things, but definitely a lot of people thought it was going to be a lot worse. So I think we can. I think we can expect some fantasy production out of him. I'm not saying that he's going to be a wide receiver 1 or a wide receiver 2, but for the price that he cost you, if he can be a wide receiver 3 or even a flex play for you, then that's a bonus you get back, especially in Dynasty and redraft. You probably didn't hold on to him. But if you can get him off the waivers pretty cheap and stash him for a week or two before he gets back, and I think you can get some value for that.
Absolutely. Speaking of former Colts, the Packers signed Ryan Grant today, which tells us that probably the Geronimo Allison injury may be a little bit concerning for a little bit. Obviously we saw Alan Lazard step up and play really nicely in his absence. And you saw, MVS come back into the game after getting hurt, and obviously Devontae Adams. So Ryan Grant will be a depth piece, and he's not any good, but just a move to let people know about. And then last but not least, fan favorite of Ricky Butts, Zach Zenner signed with the New Orleans Saints. I know
Yeah,
you're excited
yeah,
about that
yeah,
move.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm wondering if there's some concern with Alvin Kamara with this signing. He was obviously questionable going in with the ankle injury. I think there were times in the game last week where they took him out for extended periods of time. So I'm wondering if that ankle's really bothering them. They're to a point where it's better to kind of go a little bit without him and make sure that he gets healthy, rather than wreck their season, because everybody thought their season was wrecked when their quarterback went down, and
Right.
it didn't get wrecked. So
Well, and you see in the reports right now are that Kamara's not practicing, and it's an ankle and a knee issue. They're calling it high ankle and with some knee soreness. So it's not really. I mean, there's still not enough clarity as to what's really wrong, but he's definitely got some lower leg issues that you have to be careful with him. If your team is built for a playoff run, he's critical.
yeah, it's more important to have him at the end of the season than it is to have him right now, because you can get him back, get Drew Brees back, get them both healthy, and then just take off from there. So here, before we move on, we do have one more big story to talk about, and
Sure.
this is for wide receivers in the South with the Colts and Titans and um, I'm drawing a blank.
Oh,
uh,
Texans and Jaguars.
Texans. Okay, because Jalen Ramsey is no longer with the Jaguars. So
Right.
there's 2 games for all those guys off their schedule where the number ones are not going to be shadowed by Jalen Ramsey. That may not seem like a big deal, but it is. So that's a little bit. We obviously know that Jalen Ramsey was traded to the Rams for 2 firsts and what what else was it? It was something else, wasn't it?
Yeah. Two first and a fourth.
Yeah, 2 firsts and a fourth.
Yep.
I think it's a great move for everybody involved. I think the Jaguars get a lot of value. The Rams are in that real small window of being able to compete because their cap's so high, and Goff's going to be up, or another quarterback or whatever they do is going to be up for a contract. They're going to have to. They had to win as soon as possible, before they have to break up that team, because there's just so many big names, and obviously Aaron Donald is already getting paid a shit ton of money. So
Yep.
it's either make a move and do something now, or just watch all that go to waste. So I understand why they did it. Um, I am going to.
We do have a question
Well,
already
yeah,
over on
yeah, I
YouTube.
am gonna. I've got a few questions here that we will go over here now, and then after we get done with these questions, we will not answer questions until the end of the show. Um, so we'll do a couple now, and then we'll do some more at the end. Um, but first, I will hit on Paul's comment that it's better for the wide receiver too, because uh, Boye's good too. I agree that Boye's good, but he's not Ramsey good. He's not like shut you down, take your wide receiver one completely out of the game good.
Right.
So yeah, I do agree that he's good, and he's not an easy matchup, but he's not the shutdown matchup that Ramsey is. Ramsey's just, I mean, if he would just shut up and play, he'd probably be the best shutdown corner in the league. But he's a little arrogant there and
Slightly.
gets in his own way, I think. So first off, yes, I am here. Said, do you feel like Eckler is a person you could ever start? I mean, I think he showed the beginning of this year that you can definitely throw him in your lineup. Now, can he hold up for an entire season or back-to-back seasons? That's hard to know because he's such a small guy. But as long as he's healthy, I think he could be definitely be put in your lineup. Any thoughts on Austin Eckler?
I'm a big fan. I had acquired him in a couple spots just before the season started, and started him and rode him, and and quite honestly, even with Melvin Gordon back, he still has value. I mean, they're going to continue to carve out a role for him. So obviously, you have to be a little more careful now that Gordon's back, but he's a guy that I'm considering. You
Gordon
know,
is just back to doing Gordon things.
well, that offensive line is brutal, so it doesn't matter
But
who's
well,
back there,
no,
right?
see, but
Because
that's the
more
thing.
guys keep
No,
getting
that is
hurt.
the thing. Okay, okay, we're gonna pull this up.
The nice thing about Eckler is that they get him stuff out of the backfield, and Gordon just doesn't do that nearly as well. So Gordon is going to continue to do Gordon things because he's a between the tackles type guy. Where Eckler, he's got a lot
Dude,
more wiggle to his game.
Melvin Gordon has never been good running between the tackles. The dude.
I'm not saying he was good. Hey, at no time did I say he was good. Let's start this
But I'm
conversation with
just
no
saying,
one's
like,
saying he's good.
this dude, and I'm not gonna say that the offensive line's not bad, but we've got little bitty Eckler averaging almost 4 yards a carry, and he was taking every run. He wasn't just running off the edge; he was running between the tackles before Gordon came back. He was getting his rushes everywhere, and he was rushing 18, 17, 12 times a game before Gordon came back. But
Well, and he's still out snapping him. I mean, even this last week. So now Gordon's been back 2 weeks. He still had, I think Eckler had almost 40 snaps, where Gordon only had like 25 or something
Gordon's
like
back
that.
to averaging less than 3 yards a carry, even with a bad offensive line. I mean,
Right.
it's just normal Gordon
And
stuff.
Eckler, and the nice thing is that Eckler's not terribly small. I mean, he's 5'10" and probably just over 200
He's
pounds. I
right.
don't know exactly what his weight
What
is,
I'm looking
but
at right now says 200 right on the dot.
I would say
Yep.
200. I'm about to say he's not terribly small, but he's, he could probably stand to add a little bit, but I like him long term.
And
He's a
I'm
guy that I traded for in a couple
I'm not
spots.
even saying that Austin Eckler's strength is running the ball. That's obviously not his strength.
Right.
What I'm saying is that Melvin Gordon's not good running the ball either. He's just never been efficient. Okay, he's good around the goal
He's
line.
a
He
volume
finds
guy.
those yards. He finds the end zone. He can catch the ball. He's been a good receiver, but it's just he's not efficient at all. Um,
He needs a ton of
yes,
carries.
I am here. Also said, should Funches be someone you pick up? I could pick him up right now. Um, it just for one, that depends on what league you're in, how deep your benches are, who you've got. Okay, there's a lot of guys that I wouldn't drop for Funches, but if you're rostering somebody like Randall Cobb or somebody in
Why?
that light, what?
He said, why?
I mean, just depending on how deep your leagues are. Don't say that and alienate some of our people that have Randall Cobb on the bench. I mean, come on, man. Um, but I mean, there's just
Now,
there's guys that I would drop for Funches, and then there's other guys I don't. Now, we are primarily dynasty players. I don't have any redraft leagues, so uh, you know, Funches is a guy that I'm not dropping in dynasty leagues, so I've got him stashed in spots I had him. So I'm real happy for him to come back. I can't say that in every dynasty or every redraft league he's somebody that you'll want to snag. But if you're carrying three tight ends, maybe if you're carrying three quarterbacks, maybe because you don't need that. Um, but yeah, Julian Vasquez says I have Lockett, Ridley, DK, Diggs, Fuller. I need to start three. Julian, I recommend coming back Sunday morning because it's too early. I haven't really looked at matchups, so I don't know um, really who I like out of that group. So I don't feel comfortable giving you three to start on Wednesday night. Who plays tomorrow? We've got
Kansas City and Denver.
Kansas City and Denver, so none of those guys play tomorrow, so that's good. Definitely Sunday morning, 10 to noon Eastern. I'll be live, and that's what I do on Sunday mornings is answer those start sit questions. After I go through all my DFS matchups, I have a better idea who I'd like um, in that spot. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, okay.
I
So
mean,
that's it.
obviously, well, I just just throwing it out there, Julian. You typically, I mean, in your list of guys that are listed here, I mean, you kind of have the guys that are your normal must starts, and then
Really?
you have some young guys. So, I mean, you kind of have to, I would recommend obviously coming back, but
I mean, I
you got some really talented guys
I
here.
think the youngest guy that you're kind of saying not to start has been the most consistent out of the bunch.
Well, the youngest guy would be DK.
Yeah,
I don't think has he been the most
he's been the
consistent.
most consistent. Well, Lockett's probably been the most, but those two guys have been the most consistent. Ridley's fighting with four people for targets.
Yeah,
Diggs
Ridley's a
has
tough one.
not been consistent at all, and Fuller hasn't been consistent at all. So I mean, the Seattle receivers have been the most consistent. I mean, DK's probably getting around 10, 11 points a week.
Yeah, you're probably right.
I mean, he hasn't had that blow up week though. Like he hasn't had a ceiling game yet. But what people don't know is that DK right now is like one of the highest targeted receivers in the red zone. It's just they haven't
Mhm.
connected. His touchdowns have been 40 yarders and not the red zone. So
Right.
he's gonna have that blow up game here before long. Um,
I like it.
oh, I like it too. He's another guy that I was
He's
going to talk about in my positive regression
So we'll
section.
talk about him now.
Um,
Any other questions before we move in there?
yeah, if you have any more questions, they're finally all showing up in my chat here, so it's nice. They're all of them together from the different uh, all the different chats. I like it. Okay, he says, "What do you think about Curtis Samuel going forward?" Curtis Samuel was in my, five receivers to watch going into the season, my sleepers. This is a guy that I think could definitely be, uh, I predicted him as a top 18. Now, obviously, the whole Cam Newton sucking at the beginning of the year, Kyle Allen coming in, and just that whole thing hasn't really produced that type of production. But, I mean, he's getting some of the best separation. Um, Yeah, Rob makes a good point too. We'll get to, but yeah, I like Curtis Samuel a lot. I like him a lot going forward. I think that offense is finally starting to get going, and I'm not like, I don't care what anybody says. Like, if they're winning, Kyle Allen's not playing bad. He's not losing them games. He's not the guy that's going to go out and throw for 500 yards. But guess what? A third of the teams in the NFL have lost their starting quarterback. So there's a lot of guys that aren't winning ball games for you. You know what I mean? Like it even took Aaron Rodgers some penalties to get his team down the field the other night. So I had to bring that up just for Brad. I feel so bad, uh,
I hate that game.
but I mean,
Well, and Curtis Samuel's averaging. I mean, he's hit double digit points for you as an owner at least half the season. So, I mean, he's not been consistent every week, but he's doing really well for a guy that everybody thought DJ Moore would be blowing up right now. I mean, Curtis Samuel's just been steady. I mean, I like him. I like him a
yeah,
lot.
he's averaging you 12.4 points per game.
Yeah.
I I don't think that it's for sure uh, that Kyle Allen doesn't continue starting if they're winning games. I mean, that's what matters the most. Are they winning? Is the quarterback not losing their games? Cam's not good. He's not a better passer than Kyle Allen is. The
Yeah.
thing you get with Cam is that you get that dual threat aspect. They have to game plan a little bit differently, but I mean, I think Kyle Allen's a better passer than Cam Newton is.
Well, and the tough thing is that Cam's never really fit Norv Turner's offense. I mean, Norv Turner needs the quarterback that's going to just run the plays and not go, and not be the superstar. Like he just needs a guy. And Kyle Allen can be a guy. Cam Newton will always kind of be who Cam Newton is. And if he can't move around like he used to, that makes it even worse for his
Yes.
game. I could easily see Cam Newton going to a different team, by the trade deadline or in the next year because of the way his contract works. And Kyle Allen be given a shot. I mean, Kyle Allen hasn't been spectacular, but he runs the offense efficiently. He doesn't, like you said, he doesn't lose the game, and that's huge. Norv Turner needs that. And with the bevy of quarterbacks we'll see over the next couple of years, it doesn't kill them to give Kyle Allen a shot and draft a guy and say, well, whoever runs the offense better, there you go.
Yeah, and that's
So
where I agree. And I hadn't even really thought about Cam Newton in trades, but there are a couple teams that could potentially be in the race that have injured quarterbacks that could go out and take a look at something like that. And I don't think it would cost if Carolina could get it off their books. I don't think it would cost very much to acquire him if they're in that position. I just don't think Cam's the guy that he used to be. I don't think Kyle Allen is great. I think that he's good enough to do what they need to do, and not lose you games. But he's probably not going to bring you back if you're down, you know, 3 touchdowns or something. But yeah. So
yeah, the tough thing with Cam Newton is that, as quarterbacks begin to not being able to move as well, he really needed to learn how to become a better pocket passer, and he hasn't. His ball placement has always been questionable, and his decision making with the ball. And unfortunately, as gifted he is as he is, I mean, his run could be short because of that. I mean, he really needs to find another calling card than being a mobile quarterback. He needs to learn to be a better pocket passer.
we've talked about Cam
And,
Newton for far too long. I'm sorry.
well, needless to say, we got plenty of other things to talk
I've
about.
never been a
So
real big Cam Newton fan. I mean, he was always
I've never
finishing,
had a share.
top 5 QB in fantasy. But that's the thing. People that are real deep into fantasy, it's like they can't separate fantasy production and actual NFL talent. Like they think that it coincides, and they think that you have to like somebody just because they're good in real football. That doesn't necessarily mean some guys are better for an NFL team than they are for fantasy, and vice versa. Some people are better for fantasy than they are for NFL. So, taking that aside, I've never been a real big fan. I've never been willing to spend the capital on Cam Newton anywhere. I've never had him, and I'm glad. Yes, I am here. Said, what about AJ Green? Um, I hope that he's back in the next couple weeks. It's just so like murky. It's like, ugh.
I was able to acquire him in a league for a pair of seconds, just on the off chance that maybe this is a team that's contending. So I was like, oh, a depth play. I hope he's back. I mean, AJ Green is a talented receiver, but at 31, the last thing I want him to do is come back and get hurt for a team that's just trash. So, better safe than sorry.
Yeah, I don't worry about the injuries like you. Like, I don't think he's gonna come back and be. I mean, everybody on the field is at risk for injury. I tell you this all the time. They all are. I mean, think about it. The other night, Allison we had zero concerns that Allison was going to get hurt. Then boom, concussion. Um, we didn't think that 11 of these quarterbacks were going to get replaced. Did you think?
I'm always worried about everybody gets hurt.
Please don't hurt him. Please don't hurt him.
Yeah,
But yeah,
true.
it's
Very
just
true.
I just don't worry about it that much. If they come back and they're on the field, now I don't know if I start AJ Green the first game back. I'd like to see him play
Not till we see
first
him.
and see that he's going to play all the snaps, so I'd still stick with Boyd. I think he helps Boyd when he's on the field because he stretches that field a little bit, and people are a little more worried about him than they are Auden Tate, who is big but not fast. Auden Tate
Good
ran.
catching.
Auden Tate has good speed for a guy that's 6'5", but good speed for a guy that's 6'5" is like 4'7", not
Yeah,
four
but
four.
I think he's catching less than 50% of his passes too. I
Well,
mean,
he
it's like
also
not
has
efficient.
okay, we talk about this all the time too. I would have to go back and look and see how many of the balls are catchable
Yeah,
because
very true. It is
catch
the Red
rates
Rock.
catch rates are very deceiving, right? If you have Mitch Trubisky or Jameis Winston or Andy Dalton or Cam Newton that we've talked about or Josh Allen that we've talked about in the past, your completion percentages probably aren't going to be as high. Your catch rate's probably not going to be as high as if you have Drew Brees throwing to you, or Tom Brady throwing to you, or Aaron Rodgers throwing to you. It just doesn't work that way.
True story.
Um, okay, so let's. I haven't watched. I'll be honest. I haven't watched enough of Tate's games this year to know if it's hand issues or what. I'm just saying that you can't just look at catch rate and decide somebody isn't good at catching the ball, because we know a lot of quarterbacks that can't throw the ball accurately to their guys, and that's gonna, you get credited with a target, but it wasn't catchable, but it still goes against your catch rate. So,
Right.
there's just more to it than that. I would have to look into that more. Um, uh, okay, so we've got a bunch of guys that were really good in the first half, and a lot of guys that we expected to be really good in the first half of the fantasy season. Again, for anybody that's just tuning in, I understand we're only going into week 7, so it's not technically half for all of you that play 13 or 14 weeks in the regular season. We do have 96 team leagues that play 12 regular season games, that are halfway done with their regular season. Um, so for some, it is half. There isn't a perfect half mark for most leagues because they're at 13. So I would have to come on here at halftime of this week's game, and I'm not going to do it. Sorry. Um, but after 6 weeks, Chris Godwin is 11 points ahead of the next wide receiver, who is one Michael Thomas, who I've said for how many people have argued with me in the chat that Michael Thomas wasn't QB proof? I kept telling everybody he's QB proof. This dude is going to be fine, whether it's Breeze or whether it's Bridgewater, and he's averaging 22 points per game. Obviously, he had one really big game that skews that a little bit, but he's been consistent every week. When you look at these wide receivers, do you have the wide receiver leaders up by chance?
I am. I'm looking right at him.
Who are you looking at here that you just say there's no way they continue putting up this type of production, and they're due for some negative regression?
Well, I mean, the obvious one that everyone's, is the name that everybody keeps talking about is the guy at 5. I mean, DJ Chark is not going to be able to keep up the pace he's doing. I mean, it just doesn't. As we can see with Minshew, teams are starting to figure him out a little bit more, and he's, you've seen less consistent play over the last 3 weeks. So he'd be the first guy where I'm like, this, what thing is not like the others? I mean, the top 10 right now are Godwin, Michael Thomas, Cooper Kupp, Amari Cooper, DJ Chark, Keenan Allen, Julio Jones, Mike Evans, Tyler Lockett, Adam Thielen. Of those names, which one stands out not like the others?
Yeah, it's definitely Shark, and then if you go down a little bit, outside the top 12, you've got another guy named Terry McLaurin, who is just
Lighten it up.
but there's just no way that he can continue the rate that he's on. Like, there's the amount of touchdowns per target is crazy. Obviously he started out the season with three straight 100-yard and TD games, which was the first time it had ever happened. He's just another guy that's not going to be able to hold there. And then right by him is DeAndre Hopkins, who I think is on the opposite side of this. I think he is due for some positive regression. Obviously, we've seen one Mr. Will Fuller. I heard he dropped like 4 touchdown passes last week. Like, after blowing up the week before, he dropped like 4 touchdown passes, at least 3. When that happens, guess what? You go back to the guy you trust, and that is one DeAndre Hopkins. What are your thoughts on those guys?
Yeah, I mean, Hopkins just doesn't make any sense. Like, every week, I keep putting him in, and outside of week 1, they've just been kind of meh performances. So, Hopkins is the man. I mean, he's still one of the best receivers in the game, fantasy or otherwise. So, I would expect him to bounce back. I've never been, most of the community likes Fuller. I've never been a big Will Fuller guy. I always thought his hands were a bit suspect, but
Fuller has suspect hands, but you can't argue the fact for fantasy purposes, well, real life football too, that Watson likes him, and his
oh,
touchdown
absolutely.
production with Watson, and obviously when he's healthy, because that's the other issue is him staying on the field. Um, Watson will give
Mm.
him the opportunity. So now if that changes, and he continues to just play that bad, it'll be uh, it won't be long before the other guys get more involved. I never understood why they brought Stills in. Like I just feel like he's Will Fuller, but not as fast anymore. Um, because Will Fuller does have the speed and he can get open. Uh, but
Right.
yeah, I definitely think that Hopkins isn't getting targeted like he did in the past, so that's part of it. So he's probably not going to put up the same numbers, but Hopkins ain't a guy that's going to be averaging 15.5 points per game. He's still playing fine. He's going to get back up into that 18, 19 range consistently. Uh, him and him and Shark are probably going to switch spots, and Shark's probably going to drop from there too.
Yeah, probably. I mean, there's quite a bit. I mean, but as you look down the list,
Keep going. Who you
where you
seeing
see
next?
guys
Let's talk
like,
about him.
well, I mean, you've got guys like not Kenny Galladay, Odell Beckham at 22, averaging 13 points a game. You would expect him to bounce up. A guy like Allen Robinson, who we both like, you expect him to move up closer to, 13, 14, maybe 12, 12 range. Those are two guys that I think really should jump up easily 10 spots from where they're
Yeah.
at. Obviously Allen Robinson was on a bye, so he probably would be higher
Well, and
with the bye
Galladay
there.
too
But
he only played 5 games, so their averages are in
right,
that with the guys that are in the top 12 that have played 6 games. They had that one less game. So definitely, I think as these guys start having buys, it's gonna even out, and those guys are gonna move up a little bit. Um,
Ty is the only other big name that stands out, but he was hurt a week and had a bye week. So, but he's averaging almost 18 points a
the
game.
one that stands out to me is at number 23. One Odell Beckham Jr. Uh, the opportunity has been there. We're talking about catch rates, right? So before his epic game where he dropped like 3 easy balls or whatever, his catch rate wasn't very high, but it wasn't his fault. Like it was Baker was bad. Baker had no time, and the
Yep.
passes to him were bad. And then it kind of evened out because Odell did have the game where he dropped like 3 or 4 easy ones. It was a weird game. And then he caught the like super hard one on the sideline. Like it made no sense that he could catch that, but the ones that he dropped. But he's not gonna stay at 23. I think they're starting to get a little bit better. I'm not so sure that they should have been trading offensive line depth when they made that trade with the Rams yesterday.
Oh
Not
yeah.
so sure that they should be doing anything like that right now. But I expect Odell Beckham to move up for sure. Um, oh, okay. So we're talking about opportunity, right? Uh, Marquise Brown is a guy that I'm like, I don't know how to. I really don't know how to look at him, right? Because he had that huge week one. He's gotten a ton of targets. His air yards are just nuts. Um, and he's getting
Right.
targeted in the end zone. And their offense really runs through him and Mark Andrews in the pass game. Obviously, not the most accurate
Mm-hmm.
quarterback, but I think this is a guy that, when we're talking about McLaurin and we're talking about Shark dropping, this might be a rookie that actually moves up the board. He's obviously only played 5 games. He's averaging about 15 points per game, but the majority of them were in that first big week. But I do think that he could be a guy that moves up. Um, and then another guy, uh, DK Metcalf. I have two more guys, and then you can talk about anybody that you want to talk about. Um, but DK Metcalf. One, he's getting solid air yards, but his red zone usage has been huge. And with Will Dissly going out, as Rob Sullivan said in the chat, his red zone usage is not going to go down. And with the type of usage he's getting there, like him and Russ are going to get on the same page, and he's going to have a game or two where he gets 2, 3 touchdowns in them, because he can't like. His size is just crazy compared to cornerbacks. And then the other one, we've been talking about it for a long time. Corey Davis. Okay, has not been playing well.
Yeah.
Marcus Mariota was in there. We get Ryan Tannehill now, and we seen as soon as Tannehill came into that game last week, we seen him going to Davis. Davis, I don't even think he was on the board before Tannehill came in, and didn't have a big game or anything, but we saw Tannehill actually making some stuff happen in the passing game that we hadn't seen. So I'm interested in seeing him. Now this first week, he's probably gonna have Casey Hayward on him, and that's a tough
It's tough.
matchup. Not to make excuses for him, but it just is. Casey Hayward shuts down a lot of good wide receivers. So I'm interested to see how Corey Davis does in the second half if Tannehill keeps this job.
Well, and he really, come right after that, there's really no other major contests. Well, I guess the Panthers, he'd probably be facing
Yeah, that's a
Bradbury.
tough.
Or no, he'd probably be on Jackson, maybe. I don't know. That's a tough one. But those two matchups, other than that, it's a pretty easy slate. I mean, he's got the Buccaneers the week after the Chargers, which is a cakewalk. The Jags with no Jalen Ramsey should be much easier. The Colts, the Raiders. I mean, come fantasy playoff times, Corey Davis could be huge for you.
I had a thing that I saved on my Twitter, and now it's gone, probably forever into the abyss. But it was about some receivers and the separation that they get. Josh Gordon was another one that I wanted to mention, kind of just because he is getting like 2.2 yards of separation on his targets. Like he's still separating good, but they're spreading the ball around a lot. But now we're kind of seeing injuries and that offense getting a little more consolidated before he got injured and everything last game. So, but who else? Anybody else on this list that you think is either going to drop and kind of disappear or rise up the list?
Just kind of looking up and down the list. I mean, there's not really any huge names that stand out. I would expect if Michael Gallup continues to play like had been playing, the 3 games prior to the Jets game, I would expect him to rise some. He looks like he's continued to grow from his rookie year. Looked decent. Obviously the Jets game was rough for the whole Dallas team. But other than that, no, not really. I mean, I would expect guys like Devontae Adams. Obviously, he's going to bounce up, and he's been hurt for a couple weeks. But the dude's averaging almost 16 points a game. I guess kind of a surprising one as I'm looking at the list would be D.D. Westbrook. He's a guy that as Shark comes down and back more closer to the mean, I would expect D.D. to jump up a little bit more because he continues to see the targets and getting the snaps more snaps than any other receiver.
Yeah, and I know he led the team in targets going into last week. So I haven't looked at the target share after last week's game, but it's got to be close. So him and Shark are close there. The guy that the my pleasant surprise. It's our pleasant surprise because we talked about it before the show. But is Cortland Sutton at number 12? I thought he was going to be good. This is a little better than I expected. It's another one where Flacco was actually a good quarterback for Sutton because the downfield throws and Flacco's not afraid to do that. He's better at Keenum than that. But yeah, so we were both real happy to see Cortland Sutton. It's kind of a quiet wide receiver 1 right now, averaging 16 points per game.
I'm okay with it. Yeah,
and
I'm
then,
okay with that. He's
what
talented.
about Cooper Kupp, man? Like got shut out last week, but that dude's still wide receiver 3, averaging 20.3 points per game. That's my boy right there.
It's tough. I mean, that whole offense, other than him, has not really been producing well. I mean, the Robert Woods owners and the Cooks owners are kind of scratching their head because it's kind of feast or famine each week with them. So uh, I would expect Cooper Cup to come down some, but so far he's the only bright spot on the offense for
This
them on
just
a
it
weekly
makes me
basis.
wonder how I'm not doing better in most of my leagues because I've been the guy pushing Michael Thomas, Cooper Cup, Amari Cooper, Keenan Allen, and they're 2, 3, 4, and 6, and I somehow, maybe it's just because everybody knew, so they drafted them right in front of me, so I couldn't have them. I don't know, but it disgusts me that
We give away
it
our trade
disgusts me
secrets.
that I
That's
don't have
all.
enough of these guys to be winning because they're averaging, like, I could have all three of these guys as starting receivers averaging 19 plus points per game. Let's go over to running back. We're not even going to talk about quarterback tonight, dude. We're
Okay.
not going to do it because it just doesn't matter. Just so you know.
Well, wide receiver and running back are probably the biggest two, and we want to be mindful of our time.
Well, we'll talk a little bit about tight ends, but we'll make that quick. So, obviously, Saquon's been out. Um, let me just say, Nicholas, we answer questions after we get done with the meat of the show. So if you stick around, we'll answer your questions at that point. Right now, we just do you know the topic that we are on for the night. Uh, Obviously, Saquon's been injured,
Hmm.
but Christian McCaffrey is 45 points ahead of the next guy. He is averaging 30.2 points per game. The next closest guy is averaging 22.8. Just to put that in perspective, right? If we go over to quarterbacks, no quarterback is averaging 30 points per game. That is how good Christian McCaffrey has been.
It is
Not only
disgusting.
that, Brad, but if we want to get crazy and we want to look at this guy's game log, okay, game log, come over here. Um,
That's even with a down week against what was it, Carolina in week two.
Against Tampa Bay, he has rushed 38 times for a total of 68 yards, one touchdown. In those games, he has 6 catches for 42 yards and one touchdown. So if you take out those games, his numbers are just crazy. Tampa Bay, they're they're serious. Their front seven serious. They can't stop anybody in the pass game, but their front seven serious. They'll shut down the run.
Right.
He's averaged 1.4 and 2.3 yards per carry in the two games against them. Uh, it those games have not been good. He averaged 8 yards per catch and 6.5 yards per catch. Other games, like he averaged almost 12 yards per catch in one other game, 10.2. Like the dude's just bonkers, and the fact that
Yeah.
he's literally, there's not even a quarterback that's scoring more points than him is crazy in this air raid NFL offense that we've got these days. Um,
Well, and even with they're on bye this week, and even with that, he'll still be the top back in fantasy after this week because the next guy on the list, I mean, Eckler and
eh,
Cook aren't going to catch him.
I don't know. Cook's got a good matchup this week. I like Cook this week. He could score 33 points. But either way, still, the dude's averaging 20. Oh, that's sorry. It switched back to standard. Yeah, he's probably not going to score 45 points. So yeah, he's probably still going to be in first.
I mean, that shows how good of a running back he is, and but what other guys on this list of the top RB1, RB2 type guys? Who do you think's jumping and who's falling?
Well, I mean, we talked about Dalvin Cook a little bit, and the only thing that's ever kept him back was he had the injuries rookie year, and then he came back last year, and they didn't give him all the touches that we would have liked to see. But
Mm-hmm.
they made sure he made it through last year healthy, and then they're giving him the touches this year, and the dude's a monster. I mean, he had a kind of a tough week last week, but Philly's another team like Tampa Bay, like they'll shut down the run. Um, right now, running backs, like you're never sitting Dalvin Cook, you're never sitting Christian McCaffrey. But like if you have the mediocre running backs, you're not starting them against San Francisco, Chicago, Tampa Bay, and the Eagles. Like those teams are shutting down the run so good. If they can, if your guys are catching the ball, then you might throw them in there because that's hard for anybody to defend. But those teams are tough against the run. So Dalvin Cook, I love seeing there. Obviously, we can talk about Austin Eckler a little bit, but um, Nick Chubb and his involvement in the passing game has been a pleasant surprise to me. But if I was in a redraft, I'd be selling the shit out of him right now because word just came
Kareem
out.
Hunt will be there soon.
Well, and word just came out that Kareem Hunt his rehab has been going well. He's been staying out of trouble. He hasn't been having no trouble. But he had that sports hernia surgery, and he has been coming back from that faster than expected. So this is a guy that I think is going to be involved as soon as he gets there. Whether even if it's just to keep Chubb, it's not like you're dropping off drastically in talent. But if you keep both of those guys fresh and they do find a way to start winning some games, um, then they could be healthy towards the end. Because I don't think I would have to look at the records. Like, what's that division looking like right now? Like,
Hot garbage.
yeah,
Let's see here. All right, so the Ravens are 4-2, and the Browns are next at 2-4. So they're 2 games back right now.
yeah. So they're not out of it by any means.
No,
They have to play a lot better though.
the Steelers are both 2-4. So
What are your thoughts on Aaron Jones? Because this was uh, a tough week for Aaron Jones.
yeah, I mean that's the thing I wrestled with is that even when they came out, I mean Jamal Williams was drafted ahead of him, and I never knew why. Like when it happened, I was like, wow, Aaron Jones seems much more dynamic than Jamal Williams. But then you see games like last week, Aaron Jones' ball security was kind of questionable. As he wasn't catching passes out of the backfield very well, and I know things were, from what I hear and saw, things were a little slippery in Green Bay. But he seemed like off, and I sold most of my Aaron Jones shares before the season started when I thought his value was probably at its peak. I mean, everybody was talking about this guy being huge,
Missed
but I
it.
think that might have been well. I think that might have been a little early. That definitely probably couldn't have. I could have waited a little bit longer, but I think he's still. Aaron Rodgers still loves him. I mean, and if Aaron Rodgers has your back, you're going to get action. So. I would chalk it up as an anomaly. I mean, the Bears game was rough too. They're week 1, but other than that,
Everybody
huge.
everybody has down weeks and off weeks,
Oh yeah,
and I don't think I thought it was awesome. I'm not a Jamal Williams fan, um,
he's
but
not terrible, but he just
dude,
isn't
he's
as
a
dynamic.
plotter. Like last night was the first time that he ever like had any dynamics. Like his rookie season when they both got a bunch of carries, he had like one carry for 15 yards. Aaron Jones had like 20, and he only had
Right.
like 60 or like he had less than 100 carries. But like he's not dynamic at all. He does have better hands than Aaron Jones does, but he's not even near the running back that Aaron Jones is. And
I think they complement each other well. I think they both help each other.
right, but literally almost every Packers fan, because like Paul thinks that they're all shitty and whatnot, but a bunch of my fans are Packers fans. I don't have very high standards when it comes to friends, apparently, but every single one of them is like, how can they keep giving Jamal Williams touches? Like he's trash. And he did look good the other night. He did. And I'm glad because that hit that he took where he missed the game after that concussion
Well,
was bad. And I like seeing guys, even if I don't like them, even if they are a Packer, I like seeing them come back and succeed. But I don't think that, I don't know that Aaron Jones is going to stay a top 6 guy. Obviously, he had 4 touchdowns in one game. That helps your average a lot.
Well,
Um,
but think of what's right behind him. I mean, Zeke, Fournette, Kamara. I mean, those guys are going to leapfrog him. So that puts you at 9, 10-ish range. I mean, Chris Carson has been playing pretty well after his fumble issues. He could easily jump up.
See,
I could see Aaron Jones slide a little.
this Aaron Jones talk reminds me of a few weeks ago when we were talking about Chris Carson and
Right.
Chris Carson. Like, we've never had these issues. Aaron Jones' issue was staying healthy and uh, not getting in trouble for weed.
Right.
Like, that was Aaron Jones's issue. Um, he doesn't like. I don't know of him having fumbling issues. I haven't heard anything about that. Now I know that he's never been the guy that was touted as an epic pass catcher out of the backfield, but he had been doing pretty well in that category so far this year. Paul thinks that Green Bay takes a running back on day 1 or 2, or taking a
Yeah,
round.
round 1 or 2. Round day 1 or 2 in 2020. So somewhere between the first and the third round.
I mean, I don't see it. I think that I
They've got
think
big.
they're fine with these guys, and they're gonna. I think they'll ride these 2 guys until their rookie contracts are up. So they've got at least one more year. I don't think they're gonna go spend that capital on running backs. Not what's hurting them.
Yeah, they need offensive line help and some more, a little bit more on defense.
And they've got to spend all the capital they can on refs.
Let's not get started on that one. All right, so who else further down the list? I mean, because I see names like Sony Michelle way down there in the RB3 category, or Joe Mixon, who's way down there at right in the 30 range. Obviously, a guy we both love, David Montgomery, is way down there. They had a bye week. Are there names out that you expect to make kind of a bigger jump, or even go from the RB3 to RB2, or what are some other guys you're thinking
Well,
about?
just going down this list. First off, Le'Veon Bell. He's a week behind. He's going to jump up. Uh, I would think that Carry-On would, because they started giving him the touches, but I can't figure out that coaching staff either. They should have been running the ball that second half. They should have been pounding that ball, and they didn't. Um,
Well, they were getting stuffed too, though.
well, but
It was rough, like
you have to keep
the
doing it.
outs.
You can't
Yeah,
give Rodgers, you know, you can't let him take 6 minutes on a drive and just wear out your defense and then go 3 and out and then give him the ball right back when your defense is tired. It's never going to work for you. Um, but you know, I definitely think that Sony Michelle, as it gets colder, I think is going to move up. I don't think he's going to move up to running back 1 level or anything, but he's probably in that Carlos Hyde range, Matt Breida range, in the 21, 22, 24 range. Um,
they'll move up 2 spots, 3 spots. He ain't going
no,
far,
I'm
is what
talking
you're
about
saying.
like the averages, like averaging,
Oh, gotcha.
13, 14 points per game. Uh, I look at everything from once buys start, I look at everything from a points per game. Because cool. Derrick Henry's running back 15, but the guy right behind him is averaging 2 more points per game. Josh
Right.
Jacobs is averaging a point and a half more point per game. But I mean, I don't know Montgomery. Like, I love him, but I just don't know if Nagy's smart enough to use him. Obviously, Saquon Barkley is going to move up. Apparently, Miami likes Kenyon Drake more than we thought, so maybe he'll get more touches in the second half of the season. Who knows? Um, Damian Williams, I assume, moves up some. I don't think he's going to be a running back 1, because McCoy and the other running backs there, but he's going to continue catching balls and he's going to move up there. Tariq Cohen could. There's a lot of guys that have underperformed this year at running back, and this is another reason why I tell people not to, you know, blow your wad on running backs, because this shit happens every year. where we see, you know, Austin Eckler in there, Aaron Jones in there. A lot of people didn't expect. Mark Ingram, a lot of people didn't expect. Chris Carson, Philip Lindsay still up there that people didn't expect. Uh, and then we see guys down there like we talked about that just, people didn't expect to be down there. I mean, who would have thought that, you know, Peyton Barber would be right with David Montgomery? Like, I'm sorry, but there's no comparison talent-wise there. But you have coaches that don't know how to use people, that refuse to run the ball, that do all these crazy things that make us frustrated to be fans. And this is what happens when that happens.
Absolutely. One other name that, and he hasn't been amazing all year, but the last couple of weeks he's been getting used a ton more. Chase Edmonds. He was kind of a name a couple of years back when he came out, but he in the last two games has put up decent points. Do you think he's a guy that they're going to continue to get more involved in the offense because he is extremely fast?
I think so. And I think, we talked about it with Nick Chubb. I think that it's imperative that they keep Johnson
David Johnson
that
healthy.
they keep
Yeah.
Johnson healthy. And obviously he's already got that back issue, and I'm sorry, but that back issue ain't going away before the end of the season. Like, it's not going to. You
Totally.
can't play football every week and expect a back injury to go away. So he's going to be dealing with that the whole season, and I think he's very likely to miss a couple games. So if you have Chase Edmonds, then I would just, I almost said crossing my fingers that he gets a couple starts, but I'm not going to cross my fingers that David Johnson gets injured. I just think that
Right.
it's very likely, and I know we said we don't worry about that, but a back issue is a back or a neck, like that don't go away when you're playing football. Like, you need an off season, and then it's probably still not ever gonna be fully good. So yeah, I expect that to definitely. Um,
Okay.
Guys that are gonna drop: Derrick Henry, number 15, dropping. He's been dropping. I mean, I think if I look through here since week one, I think he's probably dropped every week. Um,
He had a bit of an uptick against the Bills, but
um,
he had dropped for a few straight
yeah.
weeks.
Matt Breda at 21. I
The Tevin
understand.
Coleman back.
Well, not only that, but like everybody like freaked out after his 82-yard run, but like you don't realize like 80% of his points came on that 82-yard run. Um, I think he's good, but they've got a three-headed monster no matter what in that backfield. I don't want to trust any of them week to week. Um, Carlos Hyde isn't going to get to face Kansas City. He had more touches. Do you know he had more touches last week than he had in the previous 4 years in any game in the previous 4 years? He
Wow.
doesn't get to play Kansas City every week. He's going to drop. Um, Another one that I think is going to rise, Miles Sanders. And I think that, where'd he go? I know he's averaging 13 points per game. Where'd he go? No. Where'd he go? Devin Singletary is
James,
who I was going to talk about.
James White.
Yeah,
Okay.
Devin Singletary. Obviously, he's been injured and he's been out, but he's a guy that if you're in redraft, if he's on your waiver wire, now's the time to pick him up. I don't know if he's expected to play this week or not. Have you heard anything on him?
I don't know, but I can find out.
But he's better than Frank Gore, people, is what my point is. Oh yeah,
Oh,
full
no.
practice. So you better get him now. If you don't have him, then you're not gonna get him. Uh, what are your thoughts on these running backs?
Yeah, I mean, you make some good points. There's a lot of guys that aren't really, they're wearing masks. I mean, Carlos Hyde, I think is still a decent back in this offense for the rest of the season, but he's definitely not. Well, I like Duke Johnson, but they're doing the same thing Cleveland did with Duke. So, you
No,
know,
my point is that a lot of his production came in that last game.
oh well, yeah, he had what 20 points in the last game, like 19, 20 points
Had
in the
a
last
third
game,
of
and
his
he's only got
Yeah,
66 on the year.
that's my point. Is like he had over a third of his points in that one game, so he's definitely dropping because he's not going to get to face Kansas City all the time.
Oh, sure. No, he's definitely probably more like an 8 or 9 point a week guy at best in his best game. Because KC is rough against the run. And even looking at the rest of his schedule, I mean, he's got one team that's in the 20s for against the run, and that's the Jaguars. So
And
other than that, he's got tough sledding.
I expect the Jaguars to actually get better on defense now that they know what's going on.
That they now have lost their best player.
Well, I mean, the thing is, I don't care what anybody says, right? I don't care if you're at work, I don't care if you're at uh, uh, whatever, playing a sport, whatever. If you have a toxic person around, it
Brings
drags
everyone.
everybody down. So we saw it last year. Like, why has this team has a bunch of talent? Like, why hasn't it been successful? And the common denominator in almost every story is Jalen Ramsey. So I don't think it hurts this team at all. I think long term it definitely helps them. But he's maybe the best cornerback, but he's also the biggest issue team wise after Antonio Brown got released.
Yep, very true. So, I mean, so other than that, I think you've made some really good points on guys. Is there any others you want to talk about, or do you want to go over to the tight ends?
uh, yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the San Francisco. Like, if you want to know why I don't want to play any of these guys, when you look at their rankings, where'd he go? Where'd he go? Matt Breda, 21. Raheem Mostert, we haven't even heard from him in a couple weeks. Number 45.
Hmm.
Tevin Coleman, number 46. Like, who's it going to be week to week?
Tevin Coleman's averaging like 12 points a game when he plays.
Who's it going to be?
Very true. But he's averaging right up there with Breda when it comes to.
Okay, I don't care. Paul says Ramsey just wants to win. You don't you don't ruin your team that you're playing for. Like, they could have won with him. They could have. They had the talent.
Mhm.
And I don't Bortles wasn't good, but he damn near took him to the Super Bowl because he
Close.
damn near beat Tom Brady, and it wasn't the defense that did it that game. Bortles actually played a good game in that game.
Doesn't happen often, but it did then.
Well, that's definitely true, but I don't like being an asshole. Wanting to win isn't an excuse to be an asshole. Just, I mean,
Right.
I want to win too, but I ain't gonna treat you like shit. I ain't gonna ruin it for everybody else around me.
Nope.
I want to win as bad as anybody. That's why I sleep
Yep.
3 hours a night.
Mm. True
Um,
story.
all right, tight ends. Okay, so uh, this is another position that I've talked about a lot. Like it, I don't want to say that it doesn't matter, but you don't pay for the big names. Like you just don't do it because it's so volatile, and we're seeing that. Austin Hooper, even after his good season last year, like people were willing to trade him and weren't asking crazy prices for him. And he's tight end number one right now, and he's averaging 3 points better than, or well, he's averaging two, almost 2 points better than Ingram, who has missed a game. But he's averaging almost four more than Travis Kelsey. He's averaging over three more than Mark Andrews in second. He's averaging six more than Zach Ertz, and he's averaging four more than George Kittle. This is why you get your tight ends cheap, especially in Dynasty, okay? This is why you get your tight ends cheap. You draft them, you get them after their first year when people are down on them, and you don't draft in startups. You don't draft the Zach Ertz, the Travis Kelsey. If you drafted Travis Kelsey in the third round right now, you're not happy with the production and knowing that he's going to likely drop now.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, it's tough with the tight end position because it is so fluid. Most people went crazy for Kittle, and he's barely in the top 10. I mean, he's right on the cusp of not being a top 10 tight
Yeah, but
end.
again, he's a game down and he's averaging like the fifth most.
Yeah, he definitely move up. And obviously with Will Disley hurt, that'll I mean it'll be easy for him to leapfrog and go up some. But I mean even that, like Jason Witten, obviously he's played every game. He's in the top, 10, 11, 12. It's like what?
He was literally free.
Oh
Think
yeah,
about like James O'Shaughnessy, who's still 17th, and he's
he's hurt.
basically only played 4 games because he went out real early in the fifth game. Um,
Yep.
so he's probably averaging more like 10. Like that dude was free. Um, we see,
Gerald Everett probably was close to free, and he's a top, he's at 12, so
yep,
he'd be a tight end one.
Darren Fells is right there, averaging the same as Everett. Like it's just such a volatile position. Spending big amounts of capital on these guys is just dangerous because you don't know how it's going to pan out. Now you do know that your Kittles and your Kelseys and your Ertz are going to be more involved. But just because they're involved doesn't mean that they're going to put up the numbers that they. I mean, Travis Kelce was almost like a wide receiver one last year, right? Like his numbers, the points he put up were astounding.
Huge.
And
Yep.
14 and a half points isn't bad by any means, but when he's a second or early third round pick, then you could have got a wide receiver that would have possibly been better, and then got yourself a Will Disley, Darren Waller uh, guy down the road for cheap.
Or free after
Yeah,
the draft.
or free. And I mean, even look at like Ricky Seals Jones. He shows up at 24, but you know he didn't really play much until Njoku went down, and then started scoring some points. So um, yeah, I can't fathom paying huge prices. These are guys that I'm willing to overdraft in rookie drafts and underdraft in startups because the capital just doesn't
Makes sense.
make sense.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. But I expect a lot of these guys to slide down. I mean, like um, a guy like Jason Witten, I can't imagine staying a top 10 tight end. Darren Fells, obviously, I don't expect to stay up there. Jordan Akins, Houston's got two tight ends that are right at the cusp of being tight end one. I can't figure out which one of those guys is really gonna be the guy and not be the guy. Jared Cook in New Orleans. I mean, there's a lot of questionable tight end twos that are borderline tight end ones, and I I don't really know what to make of it. I mean, we see Eric Ebron coming back down to earth. Indy's getting all the joy of Dropsy McGee. So
You could have got so much out of him if you sold him after last year, but guys they were too bullish, too bullish. Any guys that you're looking at down here that you think are going to jump up there?
well, I think you have to target a guy like Hunter Henry because he's healthy. At least appears to be. I mean, that last game he put up an insane amount of
Yep.
points, but he's a guy that you want to target. Probably will be expensive, but
Yeah,
appears
he
to
wasn't exactly the guy I was thinking of.
No, I'm just saying. I expect him to jump up the list. Other
Yeah,
guys I would
he's averaging 20 points.
20
He's
points a
averaging more
game.
than anybody else. He's he might move ahead of the guys that average 7.
Another. I mean, guys that I would look at like Dawson Knox appears to be coming on in Buffalo, and they appear to like him, and he's getting trust with Josh Allen. He's a guy that you'll get for super cheap, I would think. I've seen him getting thrown around in deals. Blake Jarwin in Dallas is a guy that I've got on most of my rosters that if Jason Witten wouldn't have come back, I would have expected him to, be in the tight end one category, like 13, 14, 12, somewhere around there. Those are kind of the bigger names that I see. I mean, obviously for the future, at 34, Dallas
Buy
Goddard. I
him.
mean, I love
If you're
him.
in a
I love
dynasty,
him.
buy Dallas Goddard now.
Oh
Buy
yeah,
him now.
absolutely.
Okay, a
Because
couple
he will.
names.
You
Couple sneaky names that I'm going to throw out here. We've got Jeremy Sprinkle. We know that Reed's going to be out.
like him?
I mean, this is just a volume guy. This isn't a guy that I like his talent, but he's just a guy
Sure.
that you might be able to start during a bye week. Um, Max Williams in Arizona is getting a little more involved in that offense, and we know that they throw a ton and they run a lot of plays. Um,
Sure.
he's been getting more involved over the last couple of weeks. Uh, OJ Howard is the one that I've always said that OJ Howard wasn't a guy that I valued as a top 6, top 8 tight end. But tight end 30? Hey, that's way, 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 way down from where I thought he would be. Like, it was never a question of talent, and I still don't think it is, by the way. But, this, like, he has been criminally underutilized. Like, I knew he was going to be asked to block more, and that always hurts you. If you're a tight end, you can't catch when you're blocking. Like, it's impossible. Um, but this is going too far.
Well, and you've heard Arians keep saying, "Oh, his time's coming. His time's coming."
When?
Yeah.
When?
But
And I know our boy Paul, like he's been a big OJ Howard guy, and I know our boy Bridger's been a big OJ Howard guy, but I never thought he was going to be up in that top 6 to 8 unless he went somewhere that didn't need him to block. And then,
right.
but I expected him to be in this 12 to 18 range somewhere, averaging 7, 8, 9 points per game. But come on, you can say it's coming all the time. I mean, I love this. Like right now, Paul's like, Leftwich says it's coming.
Yeah.
If I say something about Corey Davis, these guys are like crazy. But this is another guy that like it's just he's had a couple big games here and there, but it hasn't happened yet. Um, okay. Do you have anything else that you want to add? I mean, do you want to say anything about quarterbacks?
No,
No, we know quarterbacks. Like,
they are what they are,
look at
and they're
this.
all hurt
Okay,
right
this is
now.
why you don't spend a bunch more for one quarterback over another one. Okay, the difference just isn't enough. And redraft, you should be streaming and playing matchups. So basically, anybody that plays Arizona, you plug in. Anybody that plays Atlanta, you plug in. You do what you can on matchups, but it's just, I mean, you spent all that money for Mahomes, and now he's fifth.
True story.
Played the same amount of games.
Yeah.
So,
No, I mean, and another guy like Goff. I mean, he's a guy people are buying like crazy, or had spent a bunch on, and
and
he's,
Baker. I mean, you want to talk about golf?
uh,
Baker's even lower than that.
I, so that's a tough one.
Garoppolo, I mean, at least he's averaging 14.9, but he's way down there. Yeah, it's, that's why we don't spend your money on the ones that are tight. Don't spend your capital on the positions that are tight. Okay, wide receiver and running back get spread out so much more and so much quicker. Um, spend your capital there, and then get these tight ends and quarterbacks later in your drafts. Yes, it is great to be able to say I have Patrick Mahomes on my roster until you realize that you drafted Patrick Mahomes instead of Cooper Kupp.
True story.
Okay. All right, let's get to questions here. I know that we have a couple guys that have stuck around for the whole show. We appreciate you. If you're over on YouTube, please hit that like button, subscription. We need 2 more to get to 300. We appreciate every one of you guys. So please hit that subscription button, hit that like button on the video. That helps push it out so more people see it. And obviously, it's a little late to ask you
Content
to
is
do it for this show. But if you are, watching this on YouTube and you would rather listen from now on, you can go ahead and follow us subscribe to us on iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, you know, other places there where we do post. I'll post this one in the morning. Um, but yeah, okay. If you're anywhere watching right now and have questions, get them out. We're going to answer a few here. We are going to, we've got 8 minutes here. We're going to get off uh, after we get some of these questions done. I need to sleep. I'm tired. I had a long day. Uh, I'm just happy I didn't make myself look like an ass in front of 20 businesses today.
Yeah.
But like every time, like when I start talking like in person live in front of a group of like, I mean, there was like almost 20. Uh, there's probably 15 businesses there and 20 different people. And
Ooh.
like when I first start talking, like I start shaking and like I'm real nervous. And then I realize that I'm the only one in the room that knows what I'm talking about. So whether I'm wrong or not. But yeah, it was a fun day. For after the show, who do you think I could pick up for Nick Chubb? I think you could pick up just about anybody. Um, Personally, looking at redraft, like there's only a few running backs that you're not going to be able to get for him, and I think arguably you could get any single receiver for him because none of them have been like, you know, blowout guys that are just running away with it. I mean, you're probably not getting Dalvin Cook, Saquon, or Christian McCaffrey. After that, I think every player is on the table for you.
Can't argue that. That's good. Good.
Baker owners have acted like the price went up from the offseason. Okay, so I asked the question because yesterday I have a problem figuring out like values in Superflex of guys that are um, uh, like backups in Superflex, right? So I have a league where I have only one quarterback starting this week, so I was just trying to gauge like Fitzpatrick and Rosen. The same owner has both of them.
Sure.
Didn't know at the time who was going to start this week. Don't really want to start either of them anyway because they play Buffalo, right?
That's brutal.
Buffalo,
Yeah.
yeah, not a good matchup. But I just wanted another quarterback for this week. I'm glad the deal didn't go through, but I asked, the group, like, what is the value of Fitzpatrick and Rosen individually, and then what's the value of them together? Basically, it came down to like people thought it was a second. I didn't have any seconds, so I didn't put out that offer. This dude says, that, well, first he offered them two for Calvin Ridley, and I was like, hell no. And he said, well, I had to ask, ha 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 ha.
Yeah. No, you
So
didn't.
I offered whatever I offered. I don't know. It was nobody good, but he got D.D. Westbrook for both of those guys.
Wow.
I said, okay, you weren't getting that good of an offer from me, so congratulations. I
Not
just
bad.
upped the price for you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
um, Yes, I am here says, thanks for all the help. No problem. Okay, Dukes of Earl says, is Luke Wilson or Dallas Goddard an upgrade from OJ Howard? I know that's two questions, but me and my brother are drinking margaritas at Chili's. Dude, that's
Yeah.
awesome. I love that you're watching us from Chili's. We appreciate you tuning in and enjoying our show from while you're out drinking margaritas. For this year, no. Well, actually, Dallas Goddard maybe long term, just because OJ Howard's such a good blocker. But I still think that for this year, OJ Howard's in the best position because Brait is there, and Brait is going to steal touchdowns. I don't care. Me and Paul have went back and forth on this one. Jameis Winston likes Brait too. There's no arguing it anymore. And I'm sorry, Paul, but they didn't release him last offseason like you predicted. So he is going to vulture you. He's going to be a Bolden from New England and vulture a touchdown out of nowhere. And you're like, I thought this dude retired 8 years ago. So he is going to do that. But I don't think either of those guys are upgrades over O.J. Howard.
No.
I really don't have. Paul, I am out of 3 of the 5 guillotines. So yes, I have been guillotined. Um, Really, I don't have backup running backs other than Howard and Max, so I'd like to trade for another running back. I don't think that you have to trade Chubb. I don't want to say that you have to trade him. I just think that he is going to lose some touches. Or maybe if Baker keeps sucking, they just run the hell out of the ball, and maybe they just turn into a souped up San Francisco with 2 more talented backs than they've got, but running the ball 45, 50 times a game. I mean, if you wanted, who were some of the running backs that we talked about that we thought would pop here in the second half? I got my PPR running backs up. Um,
We mentioned Miles Sanders. We
like
mentioned, but you
if you could
said
get
he has Jordan
here's
Howard.
what if you could get Le'Veon Bell and a wide receiver, I think you would be in a good spot if you did something like that.
Could you get Le'Veon and a guy like Dede? You mentioned Dede Westbrook.
I think that you might be able to get even a little bit better if somebody's deep at receiver, because basically the team that's going to be looking for somebody like Nick Chubb is probably, um,
Deep some.
yeah. Um, but like I would take Le'Veon Bell, and then if we go over and look at even like receivers that we thought could pop, like Curtis Samuel, uh, even a Michael Gallup or uh, like Alshon, like you said, like you've just never liked Alshon. Like a lot of people feel that way. Like if you could, like I don't know who this guy's got, obviously. Um,
Right.
Miami plays an opponent, so I don't know if you'd want to start them. Um, I want to say this, okay? And you know what? I'm sharing my freaking screen because I'm so irritated at this. Brad, I was so mad. I was so mad. I want to show everybody this because people aren't going to believe me. But I'm going to pull this up. But you want to take Duke's question there?
Yeah. What's Duke's question?
Oh, are you not looking at the Twitch? Okay.
Oh no,
He
no.
said,
I
thanks,
just got
guys.
Facebook.
Josh Allen or
Sorry.
Goff? Go ahead and take your take
Oh,
first. And then
well, obviously that's an easy one. He's going against Miami. It's got to be Josh
I
Allen.
think they have the
I
two
mean,
juiciest matchups on the week.
yeah, well, but see, I don't know what Goff's problem is though.
Goff's
Like I
problem is
expected him
San
to play better.
Francisco.
Well, but he's not. I mean, think about him this
Yeah,
entire
he's been
season. He's
off.
not really been
The
what he's
whole
been,
offense has.
So it's like, mm, if I own Cooper Cup, I'm starting him. But the rest of the team, I think Josh Allen's got a better matchup than Goff. I mean, I know the Goff's matchup is good, but Josh Allen, he's going to run all over him. He should pass pretty nicely on them. I mean, John Brown, I'd expect to have a decent
He's
matchup this
questionable.
week. Oh, is he questionable still? I knew he was hurt earlier. He was a little
Where
hurt,
I've got to find this
but
post.
so yeah, I mean, you really can't go wrong with either, obviously, because everyone's expecting this to be a golf revenge game. But if I'm picking one, I'd probably pick this early in the week. I'm probably picking Allen.
Okay. I'm taking Allen too. I do want to say that. I just wanted to point out that I don't think it's as crazy. Um, Allen has that floor. He's going to rush for 60 yards in this game. So he's got 6 points locked in. I do think that Goff's going to have a fine week. I think you're in a good spot with those two options to start this week. They're actually two guys
Yeah,
that I'm probably going to be loaded up on in DFS this weekend because I like both of them a lot.
sure.
Um,
And they probably won't get nearly as much love as.
okay, so I got to share my screen here. Let's go ahead and do this. Share. Um, window capture. Window capture. Let's go ahead and do this. Okay. We'll just go ahead. We'll put this over my face here on the screen. Okay. Actually, you know what? I should probably make it bigger. Let's do this. Make it bigger so everybody can read. Okay. The question was week 6 desperation play. Drake versus Washington or Breda versus the Rams. Right? First guy, Breda by a mile. How is Breda desperation? Second guy. And I'm not trying to call you guys out. I want everybody to know that. I'm just trying to make a point. What has Drake ever done? Breda, everybody is running on the Rams. Why is this even a convo? Breda. Then I pop in. I'm playing Kenyon Drake. Don't at me. Next guy, Breda. Okay. So how this ends up is They will not and refuse to acknowledge that I'm the only one that picked Kenyon Drake and said to play Kenyon Drake. None of these guys will acknowledge me. I said, I win. Posted a couple Drake gifs, and they will not acknowledge me. I'm still mad. I'm posting right now. I am still mad you won't acknowledge me.
Hey, we got to be the bigger
Nope.
men about this. All right.
No, because listen, this is what would have happened, right? So
You were wrong. You'd have gotten basted.
Kenyon Drake outscored him. I win, clearly. If it went the other way, guess how many guys? Okay, we would have had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. At least 8 guys that would have mentioned me on this post. Every one of those guys would have let me know that I was wrong. So I just want to say,
Yep.
just give me my credit when it's due. Paul says, I don't know if Breda is a desperation play. I'm sorry. I think people are really overvaluing Matt Breda right now. Yeah. So that was me upset, and I want you guys to see. Like I didn't just pull that out and say, oh yeah, I knew Kenyon Drake was better. Like I posted that before the games. Those guys will not acknowledge me. I'm still upset about it.
You keep living on that hill. We'll see if
No,
if you live.
That was 1 week. What hill?
That you want your just due.
Oh no, they're never gonna. No, it's like I tell my businesses that I work with all the time. Like you have to ask for reviews because people aren't just gonna give them to you. They'll definitely let you know when something's wrong, though. They'll definitely do that.
Right.
Our community is the same way. They're waiting for us to be wrong. They're waiting for it so they can let us know. Ain't nobody's.
I'm wrong all the time. I'm not perfect.
So am I. But I'm sorry. If you can call me out when I'm wrong, I can call myself out when I'm right. Because you ain't gonna do it for me. No, it's just funny because literally that post I was the only one. Like everybody else was like, "Are you crazy?" And
yes, I am.
I'm crazy, but I'm right. All right. All right. Do we have any more questions? Duke, I still love that you were watching us in Chili's, man. Throw us up on the TV. Like, see if you can connect to their Google Chrome or something and stream us to the TV so everybody can watch. That would be awesome.
Sweet.
And if you had your brother take a picture of it and dropped it on the group, I would, as long as I have a shirt your size, I would send you one.
Back to the air.
Any last questions, or we're going to call it a night? I am so tired right now. So tired. I do need to go see some Jay and Silent Bob reboot this weekend, I think.
Dude, I want to see it so bad.
I got my Blunt Man and Chronic Funko Pops?
No. That's amazing. Let me see them. Is that some rapper? Paul, get out of here.
No,
that's what could be some of the greatest movies in the history of movies. Oh, I thought he was talking about Jay and Silent Bob. I'm like, are you a monster? Oh my god, that's awesome. That looks so good.
I gotta turn off the blur here so you can see.
You got some blur action going on.
Skype. Unblur my background. There you go.
Yeah, look at that.
Is that not epic? Double pack.
Amazing.
My buddy, because it was a New York Comic Con or fall convention shared exclusive. So he swooped it up for me and sent it to me.
That's sweet.
Oh, we got Joss Whedon always comes in, and he's always like, "Oh dang, I missed 94 minutes." We're getting ready to go offline. I'm just showing my pothead Funko Pops. Yes, but I got to go see that. Oh, dang, missed 94 minutes.
There's something else coming out. What else comes out this weekend? There's something else I want to see this weekend.
Joss Whedon, man, you show up at late all the time, and you're a loyal follower. I wish that I know you're West Coast, man. I wish you could get in here sooner. Evan Ingram, DK Metcalf, or Jamal Williams at flex. Evan Ingram, easily. Flow chart. He plays Arizona. You play tight ends versus Arizona, unless they're named Eifert.
Oh, Zombieland double
That's
tap
this
this weekend
weekend?
as well. Yeah,
Oh, I gotta see if the drive-throughs got both of them. Like that would be epic if I could watch Jay and Silent Bob
that'd be
reboot
sweet.
and double tap. I have Chase Edmonds I picked up off waivers going against David Johnson in the matchup this week. What do you think? You just said yes. Who were you responding to? Oh, never mind. You're on
Oh, the
Facebook. You're on
Harold
Facebook.
is the real deal.
I have Chase
Yeah.
Edmonds I picked off of waivers going against David Johnson. I'm not sure. Um, I'm not sure what you're asking there, Duke. Are you asking if you should play him because you're playing against David Johnson? Because I think that could go really bad if Edmonds doesn't get touches and David Johnson does. It all comes down to options too. You gotta if it's a sit start, but save the sit starts for Sunday morning, um,
Hmm.
because a lot can change. Obviously, we didn't even know if David Johnson was going to be in until Sunday morning last week. So save those start sits for Sunday morning. I'll be live from 10 a.m. to noon Eastern time, and you can tune in on Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, uh, and I think that's it. Maybe I'll start doing Twitter too. Might as well start doing Periscope. Uh,
As long as Restream can do it, I don't care.
yep, we can pick every platform on there. There's only like 40. We'll just stream to every one of them.
Only
Most of them probably don't even want fantasy football, but
too
yeah,
bad they get
too
it.
bad. Um, yeah, Josh, since it's a West Coast thing, I just sat down to eat. You know what? I would be willing to go much longer if like I had such a like early morning and then a stressful day. Like I don't like talking in front of people, and I like had to in a group of like big business owners, and I was a little nervous today, so I was a little stressed too. Um, Duke says I'm 4 margaritas deep. Nice. Yeah,
Making it
it could
rain.
work out. If Johnson goes out, then it's great leverage. But I don't know if you need that in regular fantasy. But options would matter. Yeah, Ingram's the easy play for me. That Arizona, like, other than 1 week, has just been horrendous against the tight end. Just like epically bad. Um, all right, man. Brad, again, I appreciate it. You want to give us that old sales pitch and get us the heck out of here? Oh, rankings are free for now, and they are updated on the website. So if you're wondering where we have players ranked for Dynasty or Brad's redraft rankings, you can go check those out on rotoheat.com.
IDP rankings are up there too, I'm assuming.
Oh yeah, the we've got Dynasty PPR, Dynasty Superflex, Dynasty IDP, and Redraft PPR. So those are the rankings that we've got up there. I do want to say if anybody is wanting to get into sports writing, fantasy sports writing, or creating content or anything, hit me up, Rick at RotoHeat.com. Uh,
You gonna finish the sales pitch, or are you gonna have me do
no,
it?
I was. Well, let's do drafts in January.
Oh, you're talking about Paul? Yeah, I mean it was pretty difficult to do the drafts. You know, MFL makes you do jump through some crazy hoops to get the drafts to start. So I think one will be good for during the in-season stuff, and then as we get to postseason, it
Yeah,
makes more sense to
we'll
pick them
start
up.
those up right in January and we'll pump them out.
Yep,
Um,
we'll go all off season. That'll keep
yep,
people excited.
yep. And I do want. Well, one thing I do want to say is that we are going to have some 2020 rookie uh, content coming video wise here on YouTube. So if you're wondering about these guys that are coming out next year, um, keep an eye on the YouTube channel. We'll be posting that stuff there. Our boy Kevin Pons is taking that. We're gonna put some stuff together, and you know what, Brad, you've been wondering like what should I be doing video wise. Well, one, maybe I should train you on how to edit these videos up so that I'm not the only one to do it. But number two, maybe some IDP stuff.
Yeah, I thought it might be a decent idea. I mean, we had been searching, we had been trying to do, what people are looking for, but now that we're heavy in season, it makes sense.
I do appreciate you guys over there. You can't see it because you're not watching the Twitch feed. Um, Duke says that we do a great job. Appreciate that, Duke. Enjoy those margaritas and call an Uber. Don't
Man,
drive. Um, and then uh, Jaws says that IDP info is hard to come by. He likes that. And then Yes I Am Here says thanks for being consistent. You deserve more subscribers, followers. Have a good night. So we appreciate you guys. Uh, See, these people come in. They do it almost every week. Mitchell just jumped in. I traded Cooper Cup for Miles Sanders and Miles Sanders for Mixon and Gallup. Was it a good trade? I would have kept Cup.
yeah,
I would have
I
kept
mean,
Cup. Um,
yeah,
Cali Dude says, do I start Kamara this weekend or Singleton? Um, you gotta wait till come back Sunday morning.
Sunday morning.
Sunday morning, I'll be back 10 to 12 Eastern time because we don't know if Kamara's even going to play. They just signed Zach Zenner and he's not practicing, so it might make up that answer for you. Um, yeah, so uh, yeah, Duke says a skunk just sprayed their car in the parking lot, so you should definitely take an Uber. All right, everybody.
Set that thing on fire and leave it.
We appreciate you guys coming out and hanging out with us, and maybe we're gonna have to push this back to a 10 o'clock start because all our guys get in here later. Maybe we just need to make our start time later, and I can take a nap at least or something if I'm tired in between. So maybe we'll look into doing that because our Facebook guys aren't coming out for us anymore like they used to. YouTube's doing it, Twitch is doing it. So thanks everybody. Sales pitch, Brad. I'm done talking.
All right, guys. So, we appreciate the heck out of you guys for hanging out with us. Following, subscribing on YouTube is always helpful. Feel free to share our stuff on Twitter, on any of your social media platforms. If you guys like it, love it, send it out. Get the word out. We're trying to grow as quickly as we can to help support as many people as we can. And we are excited. This is a great community of people. Find us over on Facebook. Go to facebook.com and then search for RotoHeat. You can go over and find us once you find us on Facebook, we can get you in the Discord chat. Find us over on Twitter. You'll see on every one of these episodes, if you're watching, you'll see our Twitter names. The main handle is @RotoHeat Fantasy. That's the big one that will get you what you want to hear and what you need to know.
We should probably post on that more.
I tag @RotoHeat Fantasy in a lot of the stuff I do, trying to make sure it stays connected. So, and again, www.rotoheat.com is where you want to go to get player breakdowns, to get week breakdowns. So we do week to week breakdowns of the different games and the different divisions. We also put all of our video content up that way, podcasts, all that good stuff. So RotoHeat.com is where you want to go. And like Rick had mentioned a little earlier, if you were listening, if you guys are interested in getting involved in fantasy football content creation, whether that's written content, whether that's video stuff on YouTube, podcasting like Rick and I are doing, video streaming like with Rick and I, we love to have guests. We love to have people join us in this world. So go to RotoHeat.com. You can email our fearless leader and join the team. We like to help grow young talent and help get you in the fantasy football world. So hit us up, and we thank you guys again for hanging out with us, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Don't forget, Make sure you hit the subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss any more fantasy football content from the RotoHeat.com team. Also, right there, playlist. Hit it. Watch the videos. Do it. You want to.